Hi everyone, welcome back to Lesson 3 of Speak English with me Men's. Today's topic is workaholics. This topic will be divided into 3 lessons. So, the Real Talk conversation segment will be divided into 2 parts as well. Now let's get started. What is a workaholic? Workaholic is a person that is addicted to work. A person that cannot do without work. For example, what is a chocoholic? Choc from chocolate. So a chocoholic would be a person that is addicted to chocolate. Who cannot live without chocolate? There are many people around me that enjoy working, and enjoy doing what they do for a living. But I don't know if I can call them workaholics. I can say that there are many Koreans out there, many Korean workers that are very diligent workers. They work very hard in order to succeed, to reach their goals, or even to take care of their family. But not necessarily are they workaholics. You mean work very hard, but that does not necessarily mean that you are workaholics. Keep in mind the difference. A person who enjoys working, who is addicted to work is called a workaholic. Are you a workaholic? That's the topic for the day. Let's begin with our first segment. Let's listen to Real Talk.
You know, Rachel, one thing I don't envy about the average Korean company worker is the hours they work. They seem to be workaholics.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. They really need some more free time or more vacation days.
Yeah, for sure. Like in Europe, there are many examples. I think in France, they actually finish at around lunchtime on Fridays as well. So they have a 2.5 day weekend.
Okay.
And then many countries as well in Europe, they have at least 4 weeks off a year, 4 to 6 weeks.
Wow.
I think the States is kind of on par with Korea, like it has around 2 to 3 weeks off a year.
Right, I think so. And I don't think that they pull as many all-nighters though as Koreans do.
Sure.
Right. And I think that there is a rule about working a specific number of hours a week, and they can't exceed that because it kind of messes with their livelihoods.
Yeah, I think they've clamped down a lot in Korea on working too much overtime a week, but it's still like a big problem. And I think the issue though is it's a little bit of quantity over quality. Like I see lots of my Korean friends, they say they're working these long hours, but they have loads of coffee breaks or sometimes smoking breaks and things like that. And they're not actually doing quality work.
Yeah, sometimes I feel like their schedules are a little bit inefficient.
Yeah.
Like they could probably get all their work done within, less hours than they're actually clocking in at the company.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they spend a lot of time having meetings and things like that, which obviously are necessary to some extent.
Right.
But I think they go overboard in some situations.
Yeah, that's true. But I guess it works in some way because Korea has developed so much from that working ethics, that working culture that is really ingrained in our society.
Yeah.
But I do agree, and I think that companies are making more efforts for this. They're allowing families to have more time together by letting their employees leave earlier on Fridays. I think they have like Family Week or Family Friday or something like that.
Yeah, and I think Korea, it was playing catch up, for a lot of the 90s, 80s and 70s. But now that it's got to that level on par with many developed nations, I think it needs to scale back its working time and focus more on leisure.
So these two were talking about workers, employees, Koreans working very, very hard to support their families, and of course to succeed. But what did they mention? These two mentioned that there is a large number, there are many, many people that put in a lot of hours and work. So they even stressed the importance of dividing that up. Taking care of your family by spending time with them, and also working. Let's take a look at the conversation. First of all, Peter said, one thing I don't envy about. One thing I am not really jealous about the average Korean company worker, is the hours they work. He's mentioned one thing. So, one thing I don't envy about the average Korean company worker. An average something, an average student, an average female, an average woman, an average worker. We are basically talking about workers in general. Just ordinary and regular people, the average person, for example. So he's saying, I don't really envy Korean workers, Korean people that work at Korean companies, because of the hours they work, meaning they work too many hours. They seem to be workaholics. Once again, that's our topic for today. And a workaholic, to be exact, is a person that is addicted to work, a person that has to work, no matter what. But to Peter, it seems that a lot of, or average Korean company workers are workaholics. Rachel says, that's absolutely true. They really need some more free time, or more vacation days, meaning they need to get away from work. They need to enjoy themselves, not just working work, but they need to do other things, such as take some time off, or go on vacations. Now he says for sure in Europe. So he's taking us to Europe. Let's take a look. In Europe, there are many examples. And then, he starts giving an example. I think in France, they actually finish around lunchtime on Fridays. Now, that's a pattern for today. Finish around, in between these two words, there should have been work. They finish work around. But this work is often omitted. You can say, finish around. What time do you finish? Means what time do you finish work? Or if you ask a student, you can say, what time do you finish? It can mean what time does school end? If your daughter goes to piano lessons, you can ask what time do you finish? Meaning what time does your piano lesson end? So in France, they actually finish around lunchtime on Fridays. They finish work early on Fridays. So they have a 2.5-day weekend. So they end up having longer weekend than us. And he says, and many countries in Europe, they have at least, minimum of 4 weeks off a year, meaning, they don't have to go to work for 4 weeks a year, or even 4 to 6 weeks. I think the States is kind of on par with Korea. He was talking about many countries in Europe, including France. But now another example is the US, the States. I think the States is kind of on par with Korea. So he's making a comparison. But what does on par with mean? It means to equal, be the same, to be on the same level. So in other words, he's saying, I think the States is the same as Korea. I think the States is kind of on par with Korea. They have around 2 to 3 weeks off a year. Anyway, Rachel says, I don't think they pull as many all-nighters as Koreans do. Take a look at that pattern. Pull an all-nighter, or pull all-nighters, with an S as you see. What does to pull an all-nighter mean? It means to spend the night doing something, without sleeping. So, students can pull all-nighters, studying for exams, or people, even adults can pull all-nighters working, or getting work done, if they have to meet a deadline, for example. And then she says, and I think that there is a rule about working a specific number of hours a week. A given a set number of hours a week. And they cannot go over that, because it kind of messes with their livelihoods. Livelihood, it just means living in another word. So she's saying, there is a set number of hours people have to work. But then again, they can't go over those hours. Okay everyone, let's finish the first part here. Next time we are going on to the second part of Real Talk Conversation segment. I hope you had a great time with me. I will see you again next time. Bye for now.